Okay. Well, good evening, beautiful people, and welcome to another segment of Success in Motion, where we discuss topics that will inspire, empower, and promote to catapult you to the next level in your lives. I thank each and every one of you for joining our video conferencing on this evening. You could have chosen to be anywhere else or be doing anything else, but I thank you for taking out the time of your busy schedule to join me this evening. So today is the seventh part of our 10-part series on the process of becoming an effective leader. When we first started out, we were reviewing John C. Maxwell's book, Leadership 101, and what every leader needs to know. And with that, we discussed different leadership styles, what leadership is and what it's not, how integrity plays into the role of leadership, how honesty, transparency, and things of that. We also talked about team building, and we had Council Member Michael Bridges, who is also a candidate running for state representative for District 37, and he shared with us the how to effectively prepare a team, for team building. And he came from the standpoint, of course, with volunteering for his campaign, but all of the strategies and techniques that he gave, they were very beneficial to how to build an effective team. And then following that, we spoke to business owner Essence Coates, who is the president and CEO of Success Prep. And our topic then was how to successfully prepare to re-enter the workforce post-COVID. And with that conversation, we talked about how even though we have experienced a pandemic and many people have lost their jobs, became unemployed, but how being able to look at it from a silver lining or positive, if you will. And by no means am I, downplaying unemployment or anyone's situation, but just wanting to share a different perspective and come from a more optimistic perspective than, maybe the doom and gloom and the, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But we discussed how it's also an opportunity to reinvent yourself, if you will. All those skills and experiences that you have from your employment, how you're now able to kind of reinvent yourself, redo your resume, using keywords and things of that nature. And hey, Essence, I thank you for joining us. I'm actually talking about you right now. in our previous call in regards to your business, we have Essence Coates, who is the president and CEO of Success Prep. And I was just sharing with our audience how we talked about how to successfully return to the workforce post-COVID, 2019, and how we talked about how you discussed, interviewing the company, asking them how they handled the pandemic with their employees, the safety practices, were they concerned about people and their well-being and their families, and then also with re-entering the workforce, when you've secured that interview, the questions that you should be asking them as far as how have they prepared for employees now, re-entering, and, are they taking into consideration child care in the event that schools are not back in session, this coming fall? Just all of those questions that we have that people in the past may have been afraid to speak up on, but now it's necessary because it's involving your health and the health of your loved ones. So with that, so today it brings us to our topic, and naturally with there's so much that's going on. I mean, there's just a lot. But our topic for today is, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Our topic for today is talking about the importance of leadership and inclusivity. And, those of us who are leaders, and for the most part, every one of us is a leader, but when you have a business or organization, or you are the captain of a team, if you're a coach, whatever the case may be, how do you include those who are not necessarily included in those teams, those meetings, those organizations? And, when it came to my mind, when the topic came to my mind, I was actually shooting back some ideas with one of my business partners who's actually on the call right now. And we were going back and forth with some ideas, and they were very, very good. But then today, the topic of, leadership, we're still talking about leadership, but how to be inclusive. One of our conversations, we talked about, having your voice heard in the midst of all of the noise, all the chaos. And sometimes when you are a part of a large organization, they talk about diversity. And, when we think about the word diversity, we think about whether it's cultural diversity, we can think about educational diversity, we can think about experience diversity and things of that. But when you really take out the time to look at how some organizations are structured, they say that they are, a part of the equal employment opportunity, and, they don't discriminate against, race and national origin and things of that nature. But if you're a part of a huge organization, you can sometimes count how much of the cultural diversity that is a part of the organization. And then even with that, you kind of sit back and you think about the different teams, that they have, and the different organizations, whether it's something that's a committee in regards to, employee committee with helping one another just to maintain work and life balance. Or it can be some type of committee where it's pertaining to the suppliers that the organization has, or the clients and things of that nature. And when you look at those teams, they're not necessarily culturally diverse, or I'll say racially diverse, with our African American counterparts. That's something that I have observed. And, we don't want it to be where, okay, well, the organization has met their quota because they've hired a minority or a black person, but then are not being inclusive with allowing that person who they hired, because accordingly, they supposedly hired this person because they're an asset, to be very beneficial because of the experiences that they have, because of the cultural dynamic that they possess, because of, again, we are using the word diversity. So, when we are included, are we always given an opportunity to speak up? Are our voices really heard? Are our ideas taken into consideration? Or does it become, when you speak up and you share, is it like crickets in the room, like, or are you actually being heard? So, we as leaders, we have to make sure that we are including those that we would probably think the least of. But my thing is, if you're hiring people into your organization, you have to include them. So, I just want to open up the floor right now and ask if anyone would like to share their experience with leadership and inclusivity, or the lack thereof. If you've been a part of a team or an organization, and you raised your hand, you said, hey, I believe that this is going to be a great idea. It's going to be something that's going to help us overall. In the long run, it's going to help us to accomplish that vision and that mission that the organization has. And you have a phenomenal idea. You know that it's going to take business to that next level and beyond. But they took your idea and was like, oh, thanks for sharing, and then you just kind of got shut down. Has anyone had that experience that they would like to share?
Good evening, Nicole. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for joining.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me. Robert Gaines III. Hello, Essence. Good to hear your voice again as well. Speaking of leadership and diversity and how you approach a company, I think you tread lightly, and you have to know the waters in which you are standing. You can't just go right to the top and say, hey, this has got to change, otherwise I'm leaving. They'll replace you in a heartbeat. It's a matter of really knowing that you are great at the work that you do and not being afraid to be who you are in whatever your diverse situation is. As a leader in an organization on the state and national level, I am oftentimes reminded of my colleagues from the LGBT community who, I don't have the right words to say, and for lack of words, attempted to hijack the ethnic minority work ethic toward their rights of sexual discrimination or lack thereof, or sexual orientation rights. And it was made very clear, we don't have a problem with what you're doing, but please don't try to ride our coattail and jump off and gain more momentum, especially if you have no intention on taking us with you. And sometimes you have to work with other diverse backgrounds and leapfrog off of each other so that you can continue to grow and rise throughout whatever the organization is. But being patient and really understanding that it's unfortunately more political than it is just a matter of the wisdom of how to treat people, which should come naturally. However, it doesn't.
I thank you, Mr. Gaines, for sharing that information with us. That is, I agree. We have to, with our inclusivity, we just have to be mindful that, every organization or every team, every committee, they have their place, and it's not to outshine one or the other, but just to be able to have your voice heard. So this way, whatever your goal is, that you're able to accomplish that without overshadowing another, which is just as important, as the goal or the mission and vision of the team that you are on. And so thank you for sharing that with us. So, in regards to, leadership and how do we get our leaders to make sure that they are being inclusive, we have to make sure that we are educating them. I was reading an article today by Kathy Gerchek from the Society for Human Resources Management, and it was very interesting because it spoke directly on our topic for today. And again, we have to make sure that we as leaders are not overlooking individuals, and we have to make sure that our leaders are trained. So if we are let's just say, you're the president and the CEO, and we, for the most part, those of us, who worked in corporate America, or you have your own business, there is a hierarchy, there's an organizational chart, and so you have those that are at the top, and then you have, middle management, and then so on and so on. But those that you have in leadership, the managers, the supervisors, and things of that nature, even when they're dealing with the employees that report to them, we have to make sure that they are trained properly so that they are being mindful and aware of those whom they have in their presence. Along with that, we want to make sure that, excuse me, that we are observing the differences that each person possesses. Okay, so a person may be good in their organizational skills. Another person may be good in, let's just say, the finances or whatnot. You may have to do a fundraising event, and you want to make sure that you have those on your team who, that collectively they're going to come together and they're going to execute everything that's necessary, okay? But if you're standing on the sidelines and you're looking at someone and you're just, judging them based on how they look or the lack of their participation, the lack of them speaking up or things like that, those people tend to get pushed to the wayside, but we have to be more inclusive, and we can't just go based on our own thoughts or our own opinions, but we need to be more interactive with those who are more quiet. We need to celebrate the employees and their differences. So, we may have a Native American on our team. We may have an Asian, person on our team. We may have someone from Germany, Russia, Israel, anywhere, and also our African American counterparts. The diversity of each and every one of us is what makes us unique. If we lived in a world that was, just all one person, one type of person, or one type of culture, I would be bored, just being honest, as I mentioned, all the time, and those of you who personally know me, I'm a social butterfly. I thrive off of the presence of people, and I enjoy learning about people and their differences. Who wants someone that's just like them, like all the time, and, we know ourselves personally and individually, so to be able to have someone else who is on our team who's going to bring a new mix, to us, someone that's going to help to, inspire and encourage, in the way that they do, it's a blessing, and again, to be able to celebrate the differences of each and every person and their uniqueness. That is what we need to do. At this time, would anyone like to share anything else about maybe a time where you've been a part of a team, or even with your own business, and how you have included others on your team to help execute the mission and the vision that you have, and not just staying focused on one particular person or ethnic group. Does anyone have anything that they would like to share? Okay. So just even along with that, we're training our leaders to make sure that they don't have any biases, towards individuals, whether it's because of their upbringing, whether it's because of their own experiences and things of that nature. We just want to make sure that, we're understanding each person and how they function. Again, when hiring individuals, whether it's for your team, whether it's for your business, whatever it is, you just want to make sure that when you bring them on, when you include them into the big picture, that you can see how they play an intricate part of whatever it is that you, again, want to execute. So, you know, to get workplace diversity and inclusion right, we need to make sure that we're building a culture where everyone feels valued and heard. And so I was thinking of a time where, um, coming from corporate America and being asked to be a part of a team, and to me, it was very interesting because, anytime you're a new person who's coming onto a team that's been in existence for 10 or plus years, you're like, ooh, and you're thinking that maybe, what fresh and new ideas can I bring to the table? And then sometimes you may have what you believe is a new and fresh idea because you've not been a part of their discussions before, and you bring that information and you're really excited. You're like, yes, I know this is great. It's like, okay, I need to speak. I need to get this out, and you get it out. And again, either you're shut down or, again, that's a great idea. And, nothing else comes from that. They choose someone else over you. I would like for someone to share, how would that make you feel? You have this phenomenal ideal that is going to push the company forward. But, you're told not at this time, or we need to think about this further. How would that make you feel? I want someone to share. Don't be afraid.
Nicole, I apologize. This is Essence. I am still moving from my apartment into my home, so I'm listening in, and I just stepped aside for a second. Can you just repeat the question? I'm listening in. Can you repeat the question for me?
Yes. So can you share how you would feel if you were included in a team or a committee, and you know that the idea that you have is phenomenal. You know that it's going to literally take the organization to a whole nother level. It's going to open up doors and opportunities that organization has not experienced before. You share that idea, but they say, oh, okay, yeah, thanks, and but we're not even looking for something else, but you're not considered. The idea that you shared, was not considered. How would you feel about that? How would that make you feel?
That actually happened to me. The employer that I recently left, I was on the advisory board, and the biggest goal for the company was how could they minimize the amount of time it took them to process their loans, okay? How they can cut down the amount of time to lead that and be fastest in the industry in doing so. And I am the only person of color that was on the board at the time, and I presented the idea that I had learned over some previous employers I had seen, kind of like maybe where they had messed up or maybe what they were missing, and just kind of put an idea together to make our partners, which is kind of where the company work, is where we would work directly with partners to get us to work together to make that time to go from 16 to 12 days or whatever the goal is that we were shooting for. We had to make our partners work with us. They loved the idea of the idea. They loved the idea of it, but they didn't want to execute on it because they were too afraid of forcing our partners to do something different. And although everyone at the table agreed that the idea was a good idea, for some reason they just wouldn't act on it. And for me, I think that because I was very confident in what I was bringing to the table, I can see how maybe in the past, maybe I would have taken that maybe kind of like as a hit to the ego. But I took that as a lesson, as the company just wasn't ready for change. They may have been open to the feedback, but they weren't ready for the changes. And rather that was because it was coming from a woman of color, a woman, that also too could have played a factor. And I think that kind of to go back to what we were talking about, leadership and diversity and inclusion, and and stuff like that, the employer that I've been, or where I am now, they have created a safe place for people that are of different backgrounds and different diversities, the LGBT community, blacks, Latinos. It doesn't really matter whatever it is. They created a safe space for them to be able to go and talk and have these uncomfortable conversations that need to be had. But I do think that creating a platform is what's important for me, to be able to go and voice those concerns. And whereas with my previous employer, it was just kind of like, yeah, I think I knew what was happening, but I didn't have an outlet to be able to have those conversations about what I may have thought was happening without feeling like, oh my gosh, she's just a black girl complaining. You know what I'm saying? But now being in a place where I feel like I can have those conversations, because those are conversations that, because of the temperature of the world, people are looking for.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, when, it seems like, even just to touch on, being a black woman, in corporate America, there was this label that they have placed on black women, when speaking up, it's the angry black woman, and that is not, always the case, but, just wanting to be heard, wanting to be respected, wanting to be trusted, and knowing that, if you call me to the table, if you have me in the room, if you have me in the meeting, with all of my other counterparts, that that the information that I'm bringing is going to be beneficial. And when you just kind of, push it back to the side or say, okay, yes, thanks, but no thanks, I heard you mention, it could have been a hit to your ego. There's just so many different ways that, you could have taken that. Like you said, I'm a black woman and then I am a woman, or, ego. And so, it's unfortunate how, in times past, and I'm not hoping, so I retract that. I'm not hoping. I am praying that those changes will occur and that ears will be open, the hearing senses will be open to hear that this is the time for those of us who are assets to the teams or committees that we are a part of, that it is definitely time not only for us to be heard, but being able to express ourselves, not angrily, but just be able to be comfortable with expressing ourselves without the label of, being angry or upset. I know some years ago, I had a situation where I wasn't angry or anything. I just, I was kind of like the gatekeeper over a certain area, and someone had dropped something in a particular area by the elevators, and I mentioned to them, hey, are you going to pick that up, and they came around, the corner. They came around the corner and they were like, seriously? And I'm like, what happened? And they just kind of looked at me, walked away. They went and picked up whatever it was, and then just, they walked away. But then word around the office was Nicole was having a bad day. But I wasn't having a bad day. I was just asking, if that was going to be picked up. Anyway, so, I'm just really, my desire is that we all, men and women, boys and girls, will all be heard and taken seriously, being trusted, being respected, as someone else would want to be respected and trusted also. Again, I believe that there are many of us who are on the call who are business owners. And so I know, so I'll share. So like with my youth public speaking program, I get so excited when I have a culturally diverse group of students participating. It brings me so much joy, and I think that because of my own experiences with whether it's being, shut down, not being able to speak, and, not being included in things of that, I include everyone. So, I teach them about leadership and being inclusive and being compassionate, being empathetic, and not in a way of, okay, this is just something that we have to do to appease, someone, but being genuinely, authentically, sincerely, empathetic and compassionate, and, having a different perspective when it comes to, us and the leadership, and not coming from, again, a dictatorship, but being inclusive as well. So one of the the article that I was reading, it also spoke about an inclusivity checklist for human resources, and for those of us who are hiring people and things of that nature. So I have a virtual call center, and I hire customer service ambassadors. And it could be so simple. If somebody needs a job and they just want to work. Well, I actually go through the process as any organization in business should, when you're interviewing, asking for experience. And I understand that everyone can't work for you. Everyone is not a good fit, but, again, taking into consideration the differences and such. But when I'm hiring, I am looking for cultural diversity. I am looking for educational diversity, experience diversity, but making sure that they all feel that they are a part of the team and not singling anyone out, allowing each ambassador's voice to be heard. If there is a concern, addressing it, and not thinking of them, if there's something that they had not done, if they weren't meeting a quota, if, they weren't meeting a metrics or things of that nature, not harping down on them or just casting them to the side, but, reaching out to them, hey, how can I help? Because everyone has different unique situations. So just making sure that they are included, not just, you're included, but you're not included. You're in, but you're not in, So there's a few points here that I want to go over. So the first one is making sure that we as leaders, we understand that inclusion is about ensuring that everyone's voice is heard, their opinions are considered, and they bring value to the team, and that it is evident. Okay? The next one is, again, training our leaders, making sure that they are held accountable, and that they show that inclusivity is a core competency. We can't stress that enough with our leaders in our school districts, in our local communities, in our government organizations, legislature, the Senate, just government period. We want to make sure that it is understood that we need to be inclusive of, and I don't want to say all, because again, you can't include everyone, but those that you have chosen, that have been chosen to be a part of your team. So all of them, that they are included, and that those managers are accountable for what they do and don't do. We also want to make sure that we are forming inclusive committees with genuine influence and power. So again, as I mentioned, how when I'm training my students with leadership, and teaching them the importance of empathy and compassion and truly being considerate of someone else, and not just this is something I have to do because I have to do it, but no, thinking about yourself and how you would feel if you were being excluded from certain things. Also, valuing the differences and creating an environment where people can feel comfortable bringing their full selves to work. And I want to stop and touch on that just a little bit, because I have observed working for an organization where it seemed, well, not seen, but where Black people are scattered. They're not all in one place. And by them being in different departments or different, areas, when another Black person encounters another one where they are, it's like you're afraid to speak. You're afraid to have a long conversation. You're afraid to, you're just afraid because how are you going to be perceived? And I'm really feeling passionate about that right now, you guys, because I've seen it and it bothers me. It upsets me because that should not be a feeling that is had when you're in the workplace or wherever. It shouldn't be where you have to put on a mask, if you will, with who you truly are, so that you're not labeled or excluded from doing certain things because of you just being yourself, and we have to understand that, again, that is the uniqueness of our world, is that, God didn't make each and every one of us the same. He created us all differently, but uniquely in our own way. And, He's given us, each and every one of us, gifts and talents that are we cannot compare them to anyone else because, again, we're each individual, have our own individual uniqueness. But we have to, we can no longer look for someone else to make us feel comfortable with who we are and where we are. If you're in the workforce, in the workplace, be who you are. Bring all your authenticity, bring your sincereness, bring all of you to the table and just go all in, because as you know, other people do it. And they don't care. They're not having the same concerns. They're not always putting on that mask, before they come to work. But, my thing is, if you hired me to come and work for you, you hired me. When you saw my resume and you called me in for that interview, you called me because of what you saw written down on paper. But if you hired me, it was because you hired me because of my personality, because you asked me some questions about myself. You asked me some questions about how I would handle things, and I did not give you the answer that everyone else does, because, at this point, if you're an adult, nobody has time for that, and it's not just about making money and providing for your family anymore. That can't be the only reason, but they hired you for you because of your uniqueness and what you bring to the table, because of the asset that you are. And, whether you're able to tell it or not, that you're doing an excellent job. That you're doing a superb job. In your knower, in your very being, that you are truly a blessing to the organization. And if you were to leave, of course they can say, oh, we can hire anybody, we want. But yeah, if you leave, you're taking you fully, and there is no one else that can replace you. They may be able to do the work that you've done, but they'll never be able to replace you as the person and all the greatness on the inside of you that you brought to that organization. Okay. So our next one is identifying underrepresented groups and their needs and giving them the necessary support and the resources. So Mr. Gaines, like you mentioned earlier, in essence, you too, in regards to, different committees, and them being included, and how a lot of them are highly represented more so than others, you know. And it's like, okay, what is the difference? It's like, okay, either you're going to accept me in my uniqueness, whether I am, a minority, or a minority because I'm a part of this group of sexual preferences, if you will, but, why is it that one would have more representation than the other? Why is that? So that's something to think about, and just making sure that, whatever it is that you're a part of, that you supply the necessary resources, and if it's you who's needing it, making sure that you're speaking up to get it. Okay. Providing workers, or being provided with a safe space to voice your concerns. Again, I think that goes back to the fourth point, with valuing differences and creating an environment where people can feel comfortable bringing their full selves, into that committee, that team, that into work, that organization. Being able to speak freely. And candidly, I worked for an organization some years ago, and I felt so comfortable being able to speak freely. And my director at the time, he's a white male, and but his sister is married to a black man, and so we had some amazing conversations, and I enjoyed it because it allowed both of us to just fully be who we are, straight, no chaser, and I'm gonna share one situation, just as a sidebar. So I remember going into work one day, and I used to play jokes on them or whatever. Anyway, so I went into work one day, and this is corporate America, okay? So corporate America, my hair is done, I have on my professional, corporate gear, all the outfits and all that stuff. But what I did was I came to work in a pair of jeans, a sweatshirt, some gym shoes, and I had my hair in a ponytail. And it was so interesting because I went to his office, and I was like, you know what? I'm just not feeling it today. I'm just not feeling it. He just looked at me, and he was like, okay, buddy, let's see if we can get you out, get you so that you can leave work a little early so that you can deal with whatever it is that you have going on. And, I thought it was so, it felt good because, it's like a part of me wanted to see how I would be responded to, just how was he going to respond. But he handled it very, very well. And then, after that, I just said, oh, I'm just playing, I'm feeling good, and he's like, you booger, anyway. But being able to have that type of relationship where I could just fully be myself in my, humor and all, So I went and changed clothes and, got all corporate or whatever, and, and did my due. But being able to be your full self, being able to be comfortable, and not having to worry about what someone else is going to think. And I'll be honest with you, even so since we've been and shut down, I've had my hair in 2 French braids. Before all of this happened, I would have never gone to work, or just hanging out in public, running my program, going to business meetings with 2 French braids in my hair. I'm just being honest, because of my perspective with corporate America, and not because of other people, but just because of my own self. But this has, now we're doing virtual meetings and things of that nature. And I'm just sitting here and all of, just like, hey, this is great. Who cares? Because again, as I mentioned in one of our broadcasts before, it's about what's on the inside of the person, right? It's about the value of the person and what they're bringing to the table. And it's not about, all this extra other stuff, because, everybody was looking hit and crazy, and still those who've not gone to the beauty salons or the barbershop, everybody's still looking hit and crazy, Anyway, so I won't belabor that point. But, just reiterating, providing a safe space to voice our concerns. Also, benchmark key aspects of whether it's your organization's culture or the organization's culture in which you work, and understanding the employee experience. Sometimes we can get so caught up with being up here as president, CEO, director, the head leader or whatnot, that we forget that we once were, entry level. We have to start out small, just like so many other people, and we cannot forget that. We have to be mindful that there is a process that gets you to each level, that gets you to the top, and even when you get to the top, there's still more height to go into, because you've not just arrived, So just making sure that you understand the employee experience before making changes to promote inclusivity, okay? So before just diving right on in and saying, hey, yes, this is what we're going to do. Yeah, I choose you, come on, let's just do this, just making sure that you're taking a pause and being very mindful of, again, those that you are selecting to be included in that team, that organization, whatever it is that your goal and mission is, and that the diversity in which they bring, that you are definitely going to hear them out and strongly consider, if not take some of their ideas and implement them, even if it's just to see if it works. Essence, you mentioned that, even just to see if it were going to work. But how do you know, whether it was going to work or not if you don't implement it? And then if someone else, so let's just say someone else were to come and give the exact same idea that you gave, let's just say a month later, and they actually went in and implemented it. Now that would have been like a smack, across the face. But, again, we have to make sure that before we're making those changes, we are being mindful of those who are on our team. And then lastly, remembering that daily interactions are the most telling sign of whether or not your company has an inclusive culture. So earlier today, a thought came to my mind in regards to how a lot of CEOs, and directors and vice presidents and things of that nature are unreachable. And when some things get to them, they're just like, okay, well, just handle it. But a lot of times we need to come down to that place, because again, as I mentioned, we've been up here so long that we may forget entry level. We may forget process. We may forget those things. And, it always feels good with, so I know the president of my local, he's very personable. And, he'll just show up on the scene and you're just like, oh, hey, and people know who he is. And that's a great thing, because he is not so up here that he's out of touch with, where he's come from, but he's actually standing right there side by side to understand, the concerns that each individual has. And he actually listens to what's being said and will help to solve the problem and come up with different ideas, in which, they can be solved. But he's very inclusive with others. And I think that that is a skill that we should never, ever forget. Never, ever forget. Because at some point we all want to feel included. We want to feel that we are a part of the team. We want to be appreciated, and not that you're necessarily looking for accolades and things of that nature, or, at a girl, or, that a boy or whatnot, or, a pat on the back, but just to know that you are valued, just to know that you are appreciated, just to know that you matter, and that you're not just a part of the quota that needed to be met, so that you could keep whatever status you have as an organization, but that those on your team, they really do matter. You value their inputs, and, you actually include them and hear them out. So, you all, I just want to ask if anyone has any last words or any words that they would like to share before we end this session on today. Would anyone like to give us some nuggets to share with our audience today?
Hey, Nicole, it's Robert again. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your awesomeness. Thank you for your voice. Thank you for your perspective. As much as so many of us have in common, it is refreshing to be reminded that we are not alone. It is refreshing to be reminded that we're not the only ones out here fighting to grow and be better business owners, business partners, and even better employees for whatever company we desire to partner with for the moment. And just allowing your voice to be heard, and allowing your diversity to not just be tolerated but accepted in its totality. You might not like my diversity, but I just need you to accept that as who I am, because the diversity that you don't like also brings with it your top seller, your top go-getter, your top earner, the one that's out there pushing your company to make it grow, whereas you're paying me maybe 6 figures, but you're busy putting 9 to 10 in your pocket every year. A large part of that is because of the work that I do and the diversity that I am. And that is a beautiful thing, to know who you are as you walk into the doors of each and every company. Essence reminded us of that when she was your guest on the show, and she reminded us of that again today in her voice being heard. And so what I would like to leave is, never be afraid to be who you are. Let your light shine, and let your light shine through the work that you do. And once your light is shining so bright, make sure you put a nice price tag on it that includes someone behind you. You go into the office and you talk to the management and you say, this is what the difference of me brings. I know there are hundreds and thousands of more like me out there. Please don't ever close your door to the opportunities that don't fit the ideal physical of what you want for your company, because I can promise you, you will lose more than you will gain. That's my nugget for the night, and I appreciate you again. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. That was amazing, and very, very, very positive, very inspiring. And that's what we're all about. This platform is about inspiring, empowering, and promoting, so that we are all catapulted to the next level. And however we can do that genuinely, sincerely, authentically, that is what the desire is. And with that, I want to, Essence, I want to thank you so much for joining this video conference on today. And I would like for you to actually share, because I missed the opportunity when I had you on as my guest a few weeks ago, and I forgot to have you to mention how people can reach out to you. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your business and how people can reach out to you, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, sure, not a problem. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yes, my name is Essence Coates. I'm the president and CEO of Success Prep. What I do is try to help with professional profile building, helping people, get the confidence that they need to be able to take on interviews or take on positions that they otherwise wouldn't be able to do so. Also, again, with LinkedIn profile building, so much like networking. I also do written statements for students that are coming out of college who like law students, people that are looking to get into medical schools, so on and so forth along that line. I can be reached. My email is Essence Coates, and that is Essence, just like the word, Coates, just like the word as well, plural. So Essence Coates at mysuccessprep.com. And my website as well is mysuccessprep.com, where you can also submit inquiries there as well, just to kind of get an idea, a little bit of a better feel about what it is that I do. And if you guys have any questions, I'll make sure I get my contact information over to Nicole as well to make sure that she's able to get that out on other platforms as well. And again, Nicole, I do thank you for your time as well, for even having the platform to be able to speak. Again, it's about being able to be included and being able to have your voice heard, and I definitely think that's what you bring to the table, especially for me in my professional career, and I thank you for that as well.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I thank you. I thank you. Thank you. Well, you all, I thank you so very much for each and every one of you for joining this this broadcast today. Success in Motion. We are going to continue. We just have 2 weeks left with our series of how to become an effective leader. I will make sure that I send the information out to you all for next week's meeting. If anyone would like a copy of today's recording, please let me know. You can email me, you can text me, you can email me at nicole@strategicimageconsultant.com, or you can text me or call me at 248-987-8307, and I'll be more than happy to share this information with you so that you can share it with those who you believe will be able to benefit from the conversation on today. So with that, I thank each and every one of you for joining, and I look forward to seeing and hearing from you all next week. I love you, love you, love you, and have a great weekend. Until next week, you guys, make your day great. Have a great day.